Carthage began with a betrayal. In the ancient city of Tyre, a queen mourned. Her husband, Acerbus, also known as Sychaeus, was the city's high priest of Melkart, and he had been murdered. The killer? Her own brother, Pygmalion, king of Tyre. Greedy for power and the vast wealth that Acerbus controlled, he struck swiftly, cloaked in silence and conspiracy. But the queen, known to us as Dido or Elissa, was not the kind to bow to fate. She feigned acceptance of the crime. She waited. She plotted. And when the moment came, she seized it. Gathering her husband's hidden fortune and a loyal band of followers, Dido fled Tyre under cover of night, sailing westward into history, her ship laden with treasure and the embers of vengeance. Some say she was driven by grief, others by the will of the gods, but all agree she would found an empire of her own. The Mediterranean was no gentle sea. The voyage was perilous, and the exiles from Tyre had no certain future. They landed first in Cyprus, where, legend tells us, Dido persuaded, or perhaps purchased, a group of young women to join her settlers. It was not just a new city Dido intended to build, it was a people. They sailed on, leaving the safety of the Phoenician world behind, past Crete, past Sicily, toward the rugged coast of North Africa, and there, at last, they found it. A narrow bay, sheltered by hills, rich in fish and fertile soil, where trade winds met caravan routes from the heart of Africa. The locals called it Carthage, the new city. To the world, it would be Carthage. But the land was not empty. Iarbas, king of the local Berber tribes, demanded to know who these strangers were and what they wanted. Dido, ever the diplomat, offered him a gift, gold and spices in exchange for a simple piece of land, only as much as could be covered by a single ox hide. He laughed and agreed. And then, she cheated him. Dido ordered the ox hide cut into impossibly thin strips, thousands of them, and laid them end to end to encircle a hill by the bay. The land inside became Persia, the heart of her new city. Persia would one day rise in flame and fury, but for now, it was her sanctuary. Dido's people worked with urgency. They carved homes into the hillside, dug wells, built walls. From Tyrian blueprints came temples, streets, and a sacred harbor shaped like a crescent moon. Ships arrived from Phoenicia with cedarwood and artisans. Others brought spices, metal, and silver. Trade flowed like blood through Carthage's arteries. And just as importantly, the gods followed. Melkart, Tanit, Baal-Hamon, old names on new soil. Temples rose in their honor. Sacrifices were made. Carthage was more than a colony, it was a rebirth. But the gods bring burdens as well as blessings. We don't know if Dido truly loved Sychaeus, but we do know she never remarried. That became a problem. Iarbas, the Berber king she once outwitted, now demanded her hand in marriage. A refusal, he made clear, would mean war. Her people, terrified of conflict, begged her to accept. But Dido, bound to the memory of her dead husband, or perhaps bound more tightly to her freedom, refused. And then, in a moment that shaped the myth of Carthage, she climbed a pyre built in secret. There, before her stunned people, she raised her hands to the gods and took her own life. Some say it was to escape Iarbas. Others say it was to remain true to Sychaeus. Still others whisper darker truths, that she sacrificed herself for her city, or even cursed Rome in her dying breath. Virgil, writing centuries later in the Aeneid, would twist the tale. In his telling, Dido loved Aeneas, the Trojan hero who would become the ancestor of Rome. He broke her heart. She died of despair. It was a lie, a Roman lie, meant to humble Carthage's legacy beneath Roman pride. But the real Dido, Elissa, Queen of Carthage, was no discarded lover. She was a founder, a leader, a woman who defied her brother, outwitted kings, built a city from nothing, and carved her place in history with cunning, courage, and fire. Dido's pyre didn't end Carthage, it ignited it. Out of her legend rose the Magonids, a dynasty that transformed a humble refuge into a juggernaut of commerce and power. Megamburst, remember that name, wasn't just a king, He was the architect of Carthage's might. With his naval reforms and military savvy, Carthage pushed its influence from North Africa to Sardinia, Corsica, and even Iberia. This was more than empire building. It was the birth of an idea. Carthage would be Tyre's true heir, and soon Rome's worst nightmare. But Carthage wasn't built on conquest alone. Unlike Rome's march of swords and settlers, Carthage spread through silver and sails. Merchants, not marauders, ran the show. Their ships ferried goods and influence from Spain to Libya. They traded metal, spice, cloth, glass. And when trade failed to open doors, gold did. When gold failed, mercenaries took over. Most Carthaginian soldiers were hired hands, Numidians, Iberians, Gauls. They fought for coin, not country, a strength and a weakness that would haunt Carthage for generations. To outsiders, Carthage was both sacred and savage. Roman and Greek writers painted it as mysterious, even monstrous. Temples to Tanit and Baal Hammon dominated the skyline, their altars shrouded in smoke. The Romans whispered that Carthaginians sacrificed their own children. Was it propaganda? Was it true? The jury's still out. But these stories stuck. Carthage, in their eyes, wasn't just a rival. It was a menace. Their rise brought enemies on every shore. Wars with the Greeks over Sicily turned the island into a graveyard for armies. Yet looming on the horizon, a new power was on the move. Rome. What began as a contest for trade would become a clash that would shake the ancient world. Dido never saw her city's empire. She never met Hannibal or watched the Bacchus rise. But her spirit, the defiance, the cunning, the sheer will to survive, lived on in every stone of Carthage. To her people she was a founder. To us she's legend, yet all too real. Because Carthage rose, and soon it would burn. This is just the beginning. If you found Dido's story as powerful as I did, hit like, drop a comment with your take on Carthage's origins, and subscribe for the next chapter from traders to tyrants, the Phoenician legacy.